Wyclef Jean, BKS1 Radio. Let's go.
This is Essence Atkins, and this is BKS1 Radio.
Hi, this is Nova Moore, and you're listening to BKS1 Radio.
Yo, check it out. What's the deal? This the chef. Giving a big shout out to my peoples. Big KS, you already know what it is. Salute.
What's up? It's your girl Monifa, and I'm hanging with BKS1 Radio.
Hi, I'm Iyanla Van Zandt, and you're listening to BKS1 Radio.
BKS Radio, baby.
Hey, this is Jasmine Guy for BKS1 Radio.
What's going on? This is Lamont Rooker, and this is BKS1 Radio.
Shout out to BKS1, the best kept damn secret in the business.
Hey, what's up? This is Raven Goodwin from BET's Being Mary Jane, and shout out to BKS1.
Hi, this is Leon. You're watching BKS1 Radio.
BKS1. God bless y'all. Wyclef Jean, BKS1 Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to BKS1 Radio, the Out Show. It is your girl, Latoya Chanel, and I am back, everybody. I am back in the physical building. I know I took a couple of weeks off, but I'm here now, and I'm so happy to be with you, and I'm so happy to have the show that we are going to be doing this evening. But before we get to that, and before I announce who my guest is and introduce her, I just want to know a little bit about what are you guys doing? How are you? Make sure you talk to me in the chat. Send me some messages in the chat and let me know what's been going on with you and what's been happening, right? So it looks like the weather is starting to change. It looks like spring is starting to sprung. That's so grammatically incorrect, but you guys know what I'm talking about. The last time I was in studio, it was actually freezing, and just in a 2 to 3 week time period, we are back, and it is feeling kind of nice outside. Didn't need a jacket, didn't need any of those things, but I'm here and we're enjoying it, and hopefully it gets, a lot warmer as time goes on. I want to go into a little bit about something that I discussed as the year began. I started one of my first shows saying Black women in particular. So if you're not a Black woman, you can listen in for tonight. But I started out saying Black woman, sister, sis, girl, what are we doing? I asked that question because it seemed like there were so many of us that were just kind of all over the place in our decision making. So many of us that just couldn't find some sort of balance. So many of us that were just making decisions that weren't necessarily good for us as individuals, right? And so we had a bit of a series where we talked about romance. We talked about our health. We talked about, all aspects of relationships with ourselves. We talked about mental health. We had a Mr. Love Doctor, Dr. Trev, who came on and answered some questions for us. We talked about a myriad of things since the beginning of the year. And I want to make sure that we continue to do that with our health, right? So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this week is Black Maternal Health Week, right? Are you excited about it? Are you as excited about it as I am? And I hope I said that right. Black Maternal Health Week, right? So if you don't know what that is, this week we are focusing on the maternal health of African American women. And you may ask yourself, why is that important? I mean, why isn't it just a maternal health week? Why? Because my guest that's coming on can probably give you the statistics a hell of a lot better than I can. But the fact of the matter is there are so many African American women who are going into the hospitals to deliver babies and aren't coming out. Have you noticed it? I have. And I'm going to ask this question to my guest too, because I'm noticing it more and more in women in older birth ages than younger. Serena Williams herself said that after she gave birth to her daughter, that she just kept feeling like something wasn't right. And she kept saying to the doctors, and she kept saying to all of the nurses, something just doesn't feel right. And she eventually told her husband, and between herself and her husband, they made someone check her out. And lo and behold, something wasn't right. There was a possibility that she could have died in the hospital after giving birth to her daughter. And that story, make no mistake, everybody, that story is not one that is uncommon. If you look, because most of us are on social media, as you are probably right now, you hear story after story after story of Black women saying, I wasn't heard. No one was listening to me. There was a doctor who I saw a story on social media last year who said, if I wasn't a doctor myself, I would not have been treated after giving birth. Why is that? Why is it that Black women can just, by industry standards, people feel like Black women can just take the pain or they're just complaining? Why does that appear to be the norm for us? Why is it that no one wants to listen? Why isn't that no one can hear our cries and when we are saying that something is wrong? Why is it always minimized? So, oh, wait, Jeff just yelled from the other room because they never saw us as human anyway. I mean, we can definitely get into that topic, and that's going to turn into a completely different show. And that's something we could probably talk about from now until God knows when. But the fact of the matter is, Black Maternal Week is so that we can focus on the health and well-being of women who are giving birth to children, because it's important, because we're not being heard. Now, my guest is a personal friend of mine who has been, her titles, there's so many titles, there's so many accolades. I will just go with RN just for the sake of, conversation and the introduction right now. But I'm just going to say an RN. And she's been a nurse in childbirthing areas for years and years and years at a time. And I'm excited to interview her today. And I'm excited to learn about what she's been doing, what is going on, and the importance of this week and why we all need to acknowledge it and make sure we spread the word about it. So please, everyone, help me welcome to the virtual stage, Miss Shanita Joy. Shanita, are you here?
I am here.
You are here. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you are fabulous. Everybody, let's look at all the accolades. First of all, I'm proud. I'm happy. I just want to high five you and say, sister girl, 8 million times, because I absolutely love it. Do it, do it, do it. That's all I have to say about that. I'm going to leave that part alone. But in the meantime,
thank you so much.
In the meantime, how are you today?
I am great. I am good. I feel like I have not had this level of joy, just personal fulfillment and joy in my life since becoming a doula and just starting to practice in God knows how long. Like, I can't tell you.
Okay. So
this feels great.
Yeah. Tell everyone exactly what a doula is.
Okay, so a doula, and this is the $1 million question, and it's also on my my website. And so a doula it kind of dates back to the days of women helping women to have their babies, right? So back in the day, it wasn't all this pomp and circumstance around childbirth, right? Because childbirth it's a wellness model. It's not an illness model, Mm-hmm. One person goes in and 2 people are supposed to come out, and all should be well under normal circumstances. And so at the time when women were surrounding each other and just, one getting a hot rag for a cool compress or cool rag for the woman's head that's in labor, or the other one holding the woman's hand. You have one down that's, catching the baby, whatever the case may be. It's really the focus is on the mom and just having that village around the mom, and moving it into present day context. There is a big emphasis for us, particularly because of the Black mortality rate. There's a big emphasis around education and advocacy for our clients, as well as we do physical maneuvers and things like that to assist with pain. Personally speaking, I do not subscribe to like a particular, I will work with someone that has a C-section. I will work with someone that may have a scheduled C-section. I work with someone who wants an unmedicated vaginal birth. I work with anybody. Don't let the locks fool you. I like to say I'm not a granola doula. But my main thing, I don't have nothing against the granola doulas. Like, it's all good. But for me, my main thing is making sure that the woman has information to make informed decisions, because I feel like too often we are going into hospital settings with people that clearly do not have our best interests at heart. We do not have enough information, and it's too big of an event for us to just, for the focus to just be mom and baby are safe.
Yeah.
Like that's bare minimum. That's not impressive. The fact that the mother and the baby are safe.
Yeah.
Was it memorable? Did she feel empowered? Did she feel like traumatized after the birth? You understand what I'm saying? So all of these things are going to affect the trajectory of her family, whether or not she chooses to have any more children, you know? So it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It is. I want you to speak to something you just mentioned. You mentioned the Black mortality rate. For those who are not in the know, can you just tell us a little bit about what's been going on? Because some of us are completely, know nothing about this whatsoever.
Definitely. And I don't know that I knew anything about it initially. So I think a lot of this started coming out like around, there was a case of, you did mention Serena Williams and her situation. And then there was also a case with Judge Hatchett, her son. His wife went into the hospital. She had a C-section. And from what I heard, flat out gross negligence. Like it was gross negligence. I think what's nice, kind of to sidebar, about being a doula is that I have the background of being an RN for 13 years. So there's certain things that like nursing doesn't leave you. It's always there. Yeah. So there are certain things that you just kind of pick up on. And I was listening to like the whole unfolding of the situation. And I was just like, whoever was the nurse dropped the ball. Not just the doctors, but the nurses also, like, it was a total breakdown of the system.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so basically what they're talking about is the fact that Black women are 3 to 5 times more likely than our counterparts, white, mainly, to suffer a death while having a child, which is one of the most powerful countries, the most powerful country in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely unheard of.
Yeah.
It's asinine. Like how?
How is that the ratio? Yeah. Yeah. That's
it's not just that. It's also when you get into this whole maternal health week, we are talking about breastfeeding initiatives. We have lower breastfeeding initiatives. We don't have enough support around breastfeeding. Our children have higher rates of transfers to the NICU, which is the neonatal intensive care unit. Why is that? It's a trickle down effect. We are more likely to be placed on a birth control method that does not help us, does not stop pregnancy. However, we're taking this medication and it is having effects on our body, but it's not having the intended effect. So it's a multi-layered situation. And when you talk about how high the Black mortality rate is, maternal mortality rate is, you really have to look at the whole system and whole structure and how it's just damaged.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's literally from inception to death. It's designed for us to not make it. It's designed for us to be behind. Any way that you have a system that creates a formula that you can't be treated in something that's just as natural as childbirth, but you can't be treated the way other women are treated, or, as I mentioned prior, your cries are not heard, or like you said, once you do give birth, if that process goes well, that your child is now in the NICU because some sort of negligence or something else that's going on, or even something that wasn't taken seriously that may have been seen during pregnancy that could have been caught. You also mentioned breastfeeding. Scientific studies have proven that breast milk is the best milk and allows children to become smarter and learn earlier. That's all scientific proof at this point. So the fact that we as African American women are not guided in the direction to make certain decisions and do these things, it's sad. It's very, very sad, and it's insane. And it's up to conversations like this to educate ourselves so that moving forward, someone can have a better start, or someone can ask the right questions, or someone can make sure they're being heard, or fight until they're being heard, fight for their life, or fight for the lives of their children, you know?
Right, definitely. It's everything that you said, and it's disheartening.
Yeah.
It's very disheartening just to watch it continue to happen.
Yeah.
But the good thing is there are so many since going into what they call this fields of being a doula and a midwife, and even I would consider OBGYNs and all that good stuff, birth workers. Since going into this field, you know, it's like anything else. You find your community, you find a group of people, and that's how I found out about this Black Maternal Health Initiative, which was started about 5 years ago by the Black Mamas Matter Alliance.
Nice.
Shout out to them. I just came across them, like I said, not too long ago. And, you know, just being in the community with these people and other birth workers and people that are, like I said, OBGYNs, moms, lactation consultants, lactation counselors, all kinds of like doulas, postpartum doulas, midwives. You just come across a lot of people that are able to make the changes and be the change at the bedside.
Yeah.
And that's like really, really important. That one-on-one encounter with your client, that's very important. And that's basically what a doula does. The responsibility of a doula is to be there and care for this pregnant woman while she is in labor.
Yeah.
You know, so there's somebody there to listen to her. There's somebody there to be able to like know what's going on, know, okay, she's saying this is going on. Maybe we need to try this, or, you know, whatever the case may be, just to amplify the voice if it's necessary.
Right, right. Do you recommend both? Do you recommend going to an OBGYN and having, you know, maybe your OBGYN in the room with you? Or do you recommend a doula, or do you recommend them working in combination with each other? What are your thoughts on that?
So there are many different makeups of what they call the birth team. You have to have someone in place that is going to catch the baby. That is not my job. Okay. Now, I can do it by accident, but it's not what I'm signing up for.
Okay.
So, an OBGYN, you know, they go to school, they're trained in medicine, and the classic 8 years plus fellowship and all that stuff for OB. So that's their role. You have categories such as doctors that are perinatologists. They deal with higher risk clients. I think it's advanced maternal medicine, I believe is one of them. I can't think of the name of the specialty offhand, but or maybe it's maternal fetal medicine. That's what I think it is for high risk moms. But then there's, you know, just OBGYNs that will see patients that are considered low risk, whatever the case may be. You have midwives, which midwives can be a certified nurse midwife, or you can, you don't have to be a nurse to be a midwife. But either way, in either of those circumstances, I know the certified nurse midwife has more privileges in terms of what can happen in the hospital. But they're both valid in what they do. And, you know, it's just different pathways to getting there. The certified nurse midwife cannot perform a cesarean section. If a cesarean section has to be performed, that's not something she can do. So you will see midwives in conjunction with like a group a lot of times that involve an OBGYN, because if the case gets to the point where it's escalated that the client does need a C-section. And yes, there are instances where medical interventions are necessary. But what we need to start doing is differentiating between what is necessary and what is the doctor wants to deliver this child because he wants to deliver this child before he goes on vacation. The doctor is tired of being in the hospital, so the doctor now wants to say, oh, okay, we're going to, no, sir. Like this is not about your convenience. We're talking about a whole human life.
Yeah. Ironically, I had a story to that. When I had my second son, my doctor told me that she didn't want me to go to a specific hospital. She was like, because they force C-sections. She was like, and you 9 times out of 10 will not need a C-section. I mean, if it's an emergency case, it's an emergency case. She said, but I know this hospital in particular, I don't want you to have the baby here because I know they force a lot of C-sections on women and it won't be necessary for you. I was like, what? I did not know that was something that happens.
Absolutely. It's very true. And you can look up these stats. You can find out how to, Google hospital stats, hospital cesarean stats, whatever the case may be, and you can find out where does the hospital that you're going to deliver rank? Because I often say, like, people will say in a marriage you need to be evenly yoked. You need to be evenly yoked with your practitioners, your doctors, things of that nature. You cannot say you want a natural unmedicated birth and you are going to Dr. Hacksaw, who has the highest C-section rate in New Jersey. Like, how is that going to work?
Right.
The math is not nowhere near mathing.
Right.
Like, what are we doing? So it's just kind of like, it's not going to work. And so, some of it is also getting your clients to be realistic in their goals and realistic in, okay, let's sit down and do some homework. If this is what we want to accomplish, then this is what we have to do. And a lot of what I do as a doula is also getting people to be autonomous and getting people to get in the driver's seat of their healthcare and getting them to realize, like, okay, I am a part of the birth team. I'm the one birthing the baby.
Yeah.
The birth team is centered around me. If it ain't no me, it ain't no birth team. You know what I'm saying? So you need to realize that you do have a say, you do have rights, you can refuse certain things. And back to your point of what you were saying about, so I was telling you about doctors, midwives, a doula is also, somebody that you can have on the team. And I would say, honestly, some people, will do one or the other, or out of doctor or midwife. Sometimes you'll see both if they're in a practice. But to have a doula plus that person that is in charge of your care, absolutely, that's definitely something that's very beneficial, very helpful.
Right. So the goal is to have the team.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you. So I know you started this business, and tell us the name of the business. And then I want to go into what made you transition.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So the name of my business is Choosing Joy.
Yes.
As you can see on the screen, that is my middle name.
Yes.
So I just thought it was fitting. I thought it was like, you know what? I like this. I'm gonna go with that. It has a nice ring to it. It's applicable to everyday life. It's applicable to the process of birth. In those moments you have to choose. You don't really have much of a choice because you have to have a baby. However, mindset makes a difference.
Absolutely.
So, it was very applicable to the overall situation as far as the transition.
Well, wait, but it's Choosing Joy Doula Services, right?
I actually left it as Choosing Joy. Occasionally I will throw that in there just because I want people to kind of know, like, what it is. But my goal for the brand is to be kind of all encompassing. I wanted to have like avenues. So I just made it broad like that. And then, so that leaves me leeway to be able to say, okay, I can come out with a lactation line, or I can write a book, or I can run classes, or whatever the case may be. I wanted to be able to have options and flexibility because there's so much that you can do. Just as an RN, there's so much you can do. And then combining that with all these other certifications and stuff, it's like a nice gumbo. It's all kinds of stuff going on. So
Right. Okay. And so your decision to transition.
Yes, my decision to transition. I'm gonna make this really quick. I've known I wanted to be in women's health since 5th grade. Like, that was an easy figure out. And it's funny because my daughter's like, everybody's not like you, Mom. We don't all know what we want to do. I'm like, girl, stop. I never said everybody was. Now I know I'm a weirdo. Okay. But so I stuck with that and I saw that through, and it just, it kind of basically turned into niching down into what I was going to settle into. And so initially I thought I wanted to be a OBGYN, and that changed. And then I said, you know what? I want to go into nursing. That stuck. And I love being a nurse. So I did that for 13 years. I mean, I still am. I keep my license active and all that good stuff. However, I am not in the hospital. And my last unit that I was in was labor and delivery. Fun fact, on my third child that I was being induced with, I was like, look, I'm about tired of this. I need a position, and I'm going to go in there with my resume, because I'm not going in active labor or anything. I'm going in to be induced.
Right.
So I bought my resume.
I have time to talk.
I did. I had so much time. I really did. So I said, look, we're going to make the most of this. It ended up that the nurse recruiter was on the floor. The nurse manager came in. And after that, I ended up being hired. Wow. So I was just like, wow. So I had her in May. I ended up being hired in October. Wow. And this was like the paramount of my, what I thought was going to be a paramount of my career. And I'm like, yes, finally, 8 years I've been being a nurse. And, it took me this long to get in labor and delivery. And when I got there, and I tell you, it was the biggest culture shock. I don't know. It was not, I feel like I'm a quick study, and it just didn't feel right. It really didn't. And at the same time, my mother was sick, and, that kind of developed very quickly. I had a little baby, I was breastfeeding, so all this kind of stuff was going on. Yeah. So when you tie in, like, thinking about postpartum factors and hormonal fluctuations and all that kind of stuff, like, I probably could have used a postpartum doula or something like that at that time. Yeah. But after my mom passed away, I did go back to work, and I ended up having an issue with my back where I could not physically stand in the labors that long anymore. And I was like, okay, fine. And so I was a stay-at-home for a very long time. And excuse me. So I was a stay-at-home for a long time. And then I was home with the kids, not really doing anything for myself, just kind of, just taking the time I needed to grieve. I'm not going to say not doing anything for myself, but not functioning in my career. For once in my life, I wanted to not have to worry about performing at this level that I had told myself that I had to perform at. Yeah. I call it like teen mom syndrome. And
girl, there's a teen mom syndrome. It's a Gemini trait, all of the above. Yes, it is.
It's a lot. So I had to really like reel myself back in and get back to me. Focus on my kids after such a devastating loss and all that kind of stuff. And I did that. And then I started to feel like, okay, this whole stay-at-home stuff is cool. I'm a night owl. I don't like getting up early in the morning, but I still got to take the kids to school. We're going to have to get back to this career, because I just have to be doing something. I have to be working in what I'm passionate about. Yep. And I had told myself I could never own a business. I would never own a business. Man, not for me. I don't want to be my own boss. Long story short, that all changed. I decided I was going to get my certifications. It was like a bundle pack that you could sign up for. I took my classes through International Doula Institute. Because at the time I didn't know about the National Black Doula Association, who I am associated with now, and I will be renewing with them. They have been an integral part in my success. Nice. But I went ahead, I did my certified doula, certified postpartum doula, certified breast counselor, breastfeeding counselor, and I can convert those hours over to becoming an internationally board certified lactation consultant. That is my ultimate goal. Breastfeeding is like everything and then some. And then I also did a childbirth educator course and a certified perinatal nutrition educator course. I have to do all this because I be forgetting what the letters mean after a while.
Listen, I'm tired. I'm like, ooh, okay, all right. I'm tired. Wait, so I heard you say, when I asked you this question, you said, I'm going to make this short. Don't. That story right there is a triumph story, and is a story that women need to hear so often. And as you mentioned, being a teenage mom, so often everything is about meeting this goal you had before you had children. You want to make sure you're proving to everybody that you are still going to do it no matter what comes your way, right? And we make sure we reach these goals. And even for those women who become mothers, get married and reach their goals, and then what? You get there, you make it, and you're not happy. And so many women, so many human beings, period, stay stuck in that because they feel like they have something to prove to everyone and that they don't want to let everyone else down. Right. And then we stay stuck in this unhappy cycle of what we said we wanted. And for some reason, the process of reinvention never crosses our mind. It never crosses our mind. And we're stuck in this position. We're stuck being unhappy. Everyone's saying, but this is what you wanted to do since you were 5. Now you're officially doing it. What's wrong with it now? Because I'm a human being. And the fact of the matter is that I can change my mind. I'm a woman. I can change what I want now. I can reach this goal and then create another one and achieve that one as well. So your story tonight, that particular portion is so important and it's so encouraging because as women we can get stuck, as mothers we can get stuck, as wives we can get stuck, and hearing another sister who reached that level. You're an RN delivering babies, you have reached this level, and then say I don't want to do this no more, that's not me. Do you know how much strength and how much power is in that to make that decision? So kudos to you for that, and tell that story as many times as you possibly can, because that right there, that alone is what can be used to encourage others to make the same decision if they need to. That was so important. That there, your life-changing decision can be life-changing for others too.
That's so true. I never even really thought about it like that. But what I will say is I believe as a woman, and I don't know if it's just being a Black woman, but for me, the older I get, the less I care. Truly. In terms of other people's perceptions, other people's weight, I was carrying a lot of just the ideas of, my mom. I'm concerned about whether or not I'm going to, even though she's deceased, I'm concerned about living up to her standards. And
Oh, did we lose? Wait a minute. Hold on, everybody. Let me go back. I think we lost Shanita. I'm sure she's going to come back in. But until she comes back, I really just want to go back and talk about how important her story is. We were talking about, her going from an RN in the labor and delivery room and then making the choice to open her own business involving Black maternal health. This is her coming back in right now. I will bring her back. Shanita, are you back with us?
I am back.
Okay. All right.
I'm not even like a popular individual. Someone just called me and I'm like, honestly, like, really? Okay. But back on task.
Yes.
So trying to live up to the idea of like, this is what my mom knew I wanted to do. And, how do I transition? Like, and it was never my parents. It was never, like them pushing anything on me. It was just the idea that I needed to reach this level of success. And like you said, it was kind of just like every time I was not happy.
Yeah.
I was never happy, and I always would say I went into nursing because I love the interaction with people, but the policies and procedures and this, that, and the third, and all these cookie cutter things that they have set in place, when the fact of the matter is we're all individuals. So yes, there's a standard of care, but you also have to look at the individual. It just wasn't something that I wanted to, subscribe to anymore. I didn't want to have an affiliation with a hospital. I didn't want to have loyalties to a hospital. When I go into the room as a doula, my loyalty is to my client. That's it.
Absolutely.
It's not to the doctor's schedule. It's not to whether or not the nurse wants to take a break, or it has nothing to do with any of that. It's about the client experience.
So let me
ask you, that feels good.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, because you have some people that having a doula has been a part of their birthing plan. Even back when I had children, you would hear certain things, but it wasn't necessarily the norm. So for a woman who finds out she's pregnant this evening, and decides that she wants a birthing plan and is now going to go to her OBGYN just to make sure, run tests, make sure everything's okay. At what point in time in the process does she include the doula in that process?
For me personally, the earlier the better, because you need to establish a rapport with your client. I'm going to be at one of the most personal, important events of your life. Yeah. I would like to know, what is your favorite color? I would like to know what condiments you like on your hot dog. I would like to know, how do you take your steak? Like, I need to know everything because I'm going to be all up in your face and all up in your space in a very, very personal way. And so for me, like, that is achieved through genuine transactions with one another, being transparent, and I ask like real questions on my intake forms. I want to know, what are your fears? What are your concerns? What do you feel like, could have been done possibly differently from your last experience if you have other children? I'm just really trying to get them to think big, to think, bigger than just, I want to be alive when this is done. No, I told my last client in our prenatal visit, I said, okay, so I do education in these prenatal visits. And we talk about everything from preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, placental issues. We talk about, what's new. We talk about the stages of labor. We talk about pain management, all kinds of things. And so we got to the point where we were talking about birth planning. Yeah. And I don't really like the term birth plan. I just feel as though it's the stigma of it is very rigid.
Okay.
So I tend to say like birth wishes or birth stories. I said, look, I want you to write me the most like all inclusive, everything you want birth story. Like, this is your Disney birth story. Lay it on me. I want to know, what is the atmosphere like? What do you want it to feel like? What do you want the room to smell like? Who do you want in your space? Who do you not want in your space? What providers do you not want to see in your face? Do you want residents to handle you? Do you want them to do X, Y, and Z with your newborn? Like, all these things. Yeah. I want to know everything. Do you want a birthday cake there? It's somebody's birthday. I think we really don't realize that it's somebody's birthday.
Yeah. And how special that moment is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that is that person's technical first birthday. I know we celebrated a year after, but that's their birthday.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about that, And I recall saying with my last daughter, I was like, you know what? I want cake and I want wine. And I really did want those things, but she kicked my butt on the way out and she's still kicking it. So, so I didn't get a chance to do that. But I mean, I would love to make that happen for somebody if that's what they want. Yeah. I would love that.
So how often do you meet with them before that day?
So today, I just said to my husband, I'm thinking about restructuring. I'm thinking about converting to 3 prenatal visits. So we have an initial complimentary consultation where, we basically get acquainted. I let you know, a little bit about myself, and you let me know a little bit about you. And then we talk about what services you might be interested in. And then we kind of just go from there as far as questions and things of that nature, next steps or whatever the case may be. And once the client commits, at that point, they can call me, text me, whatever. I send resources very often to my clients, articles that I find to be interesting, or, hey, check this out. What to put in your bag for a C-section? What to put in your bag for, a vaginal birth, whatever the case may be. And then, so I do 2 prenatal visits for now. In those prenatal visits, that's why I was talking about all of that education. Yeah. Just, you need to know what's going on. You need to know. No other thing do we show up and we don't know. Basketball players don't just show up to Madison Square Garden and just be like, all right, we about to do this. No, they don't. They practice.
And they didn't practice. Right.
They watch film. They review and they study and they understand. You get what I'm saying? Like, so I bring up basketball and I bring up sports a lot because the dads want to know, what's your role? Like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. I am equivalent to the point guard or the QB. I'm the person in the room that has the mom in mind. Mm-hmm. And I'm executing on all levels. What's the doctor talking about? What's your mama over there talking about? Yes, because grandma's being there bugging. Mm-hmm. Grandma, she don't want the camera pointed to her while she's pushing. Go on and tell whomever In the hall, brief them in the hallway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All these different kinds of things. There's got to be somebody in that room that has that woman in mind, because in that, it's like the Wild Wild West. So many things are going on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is. So someone needs to direct, and someone needs to make sure everybody is doing their part. And like you said,
yes,
from even all of those aspects are important. But in the event that there's some kind of adverse event and someone saying that something doesn't feel right, or I'm not feeling right, there needs to be someone to advocate for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like the last birth that I attended. My client started vomiting. That's a pretty good sign that when a person starts to vomit and they're progressing through labor, that they're transitioning and they're likely not fully dilated. Some people vomit the entire time that they're pushing the baby out. So once she started doing it, I'm like, I really feel like she's fully dilated. The resident comes in, and she's talking about, because her water was broken. She's talking about how, she, they don't really do checks like that often. And, we can't check you that much. And granted, her water is broken. And so, yes, there is a greater risk of infection because the person's water is broken.
Yeah.
So I'm just listening to her whole spiel. She's not wrong, but at the same time, that she's 10 centimeters. Like, I just felt like she was intuitively, I felt like she was 10 centimeters dilated.
Mm-hmm.
And what did she find when she did the check?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She was 10 centimeters dilated.
Mm-hmm. She's ready to go.
Okay. So now we need to change up the game plan. Now we need to implement some different positionings, things of that nature. So I understood where she was coming from, but I also knew what my gut was telling me. And I just was like, look, this is what I'm going to go with.
And now with all of your degrees and certifications, is there more respect for you as a doula having that RN background as opposed to some doulas who don't, maybe?
I don't think there should be, honestly. I feel that because you know how a lot of people, titles are very important to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
However, my mentor is not a registered nurse. She's a bunch of fabulous things. Shout out to my mentor, Michelle Codwell of Baby Please Birth Services.
Shout out to Michelle. Okay.
She has been in the business for several years. She's a scientist. She's got all these fabulous, wonderful credentials as well. Black Girl Magic.
Yes.
And
yes.
she knows her stuff. Okay. She's not an RN, but she knows her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where people are like, what are you? What do you do? You know, like she's still got a masked woman. Like,
yeah.
She just learned. She just learned and she studies her craft.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do believe that there are people, because there can be pushback and opposition when doulas are coming to the room.
Yeah.
And one thing about me is I'm not coming and pulling my RN card. I will pull the card if I need to, but I'm not going to do that. And I never do that as a nurse either, like as a patient rather. When I'm going in, I like to suss it out and see. Okay, let's see how they're going. Let's see how they're going to act. How are you going to treat me when you don't know that I'm a nurse?
Yeah.
And so to me, that's important. But there definitely is a lot of work that needs to be done around the perception of doulas and understanding as to what our role really is. We're not there to interfere with what's going on in the hospital. I'm not there to interfere with what's going on in the hospital.
Yeah.
I am there to make sure that unnecessary interventions are not taking place. That's really, to me, that's very important, that you're not just pushing things on people and things are not just being done just to be done.
Just to be done. Yeah. Just to be done. You mentioned, and we started talking about Black Maternal Health Week and how it came about. And I want to know, trying to get the word out on this, because again, this is something that is extremely important in our community. And maybe you can speak to this too. I've noticed that with a lot of the mortality rates, it seems to be older Black women. And of course, I don't mean older, but I mean, it doesn't appear to be early 20s or teens. It appears to be older Black women. Do you know if there's any kind of significance with that, or?
So I actually did read a case of a younger girl. I believe she was like in her 20s. And I can't recall exactly what happened, but it is something that is happening across the board. However, when you get into just science and anatomy and advanced maternal age, as they call it, and all this good stuff, they're considered, and some people, I've even heard some of these women referred to as geriatric pregnancies. I think that is so gross. I don't know who came up with that. But what you're not going to do is call me a geriatric pregnancy, because if I can still get pregnant, I'm not geriatric.
Clearly, no.
But, okay, so there are associated with being higher in age. Namely, you have things like gestational diabetes, you have things like preeclampsia, and just, yes, the age alone can put you at a greater risk for certain things. Okay. However, when I think about these things and I hear so many Black women, say they're scared or whatever the case may be, I often challenge that thought with these numbers and these figures that, we're saying, are applicable to us. We have a very, very sordid history, Black women, with just obstetrics in general.
Yeah.
Health, but particularly is obstetrics, because back in the day, we were used to be practiced on. So not a whole lot of trust there. Do you think these stats that they're coming up with are based off of us as the clients? Because I don't. I don't believe that. So there really needs to be more education just around pre-pregnancy preparedness.
Yeah.
Like, yes, go visit your doctor. Have a conversation with your doctor and let your doctor know you want to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Ask your doctor what kind of things you can do, or your provider, whomever, what kind of things you could do. A holistic person, whomever you feel comfortable going to.
Yeah.
Ask them what kind of things you can do to optimize your chances of having a safe pregnancy. And I would do that at any age. I think that's important at any age. But I also think what we don't realize as women, another fun fact, women are different from men in the regard that men are not born with their stock load of sperm. We are born with all the eggs we will have in our entire lifetime. We get our eggs while we are inside of our moms at about 22 weeks gestation. So when you hear things like, abnormalities with eggs or things of that nature, I mean, yes, it's not, that's why I said, science and anatomy, biology, the way that these things come together, like, yes, it is a thing, but I don't feel like that counts us out. I don't feel like that's something that just is like, it's a death sentence, it's over, don't even try. I don't feel like that, because a lot of women are waiting longer to have babies.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
So case by case, that's what we need to do. Case by case.
Definitely. So for someone who is looking for you right now and looking for your services, tell everyone when they should contact you and how they can contact you.
The minute that pink line shows up, the minute you see that pink line, call me, girl. Call me. No, but I mean, yeah, I understand. Like, some people like to wait the first trimester out or whatever the case may be, and that's fine as well too. But the earlier, the better. Personally, for me, I prefer to have my clients sign up with me prior to 27 weeks. Because we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of education we have to do. There's a lot of text messages you have to get from me with resources and information and all this good stuff. Yeah. So it's something that we need to be building on. We need to work on your birth plan, your little Disney birth story, all that good stuff. There's a lot to be done. And we actually, in that last visit, we practice positions. Again, nobody shows up and just does these random things. In any other area of anything, we practice. So we practice positioning and counter pressure, physically helping the person with their pain, peanut balls and birthing balls and all these nice little gadgets that you can use to make the labor and the delivery more tolerable. Yeah. So yes, I like them to come as early as possible. You can check out my website is www.iamchoosingjoy.net. I am @_I am choosing joy_ on Instagram. I am @choosingjoy on Facebook. And I am also listed in Black Birth Workers Rock, National Black Doula Association directory, Doula Match. I just did that today. Directory. And I believe that's everywhere I am. Up. And I'm also a virtual doula for Pacify. They are a company that I'm an independent contractor for, and they provide services via Medicaid. They work with a lot of WIC programs. So it's my way to be able to give back to just underserved populations that might not otherwise be able to reach a doula. And I have a collaboration with Young Lives. It's a teen mom ministry. And yes, because teen moms are so near and dear to my heart.
You know I love that. You know I love that. You know, listen,
I went to a paint and sip event with them last Saturday, and it was so fun. And they're really wonderful, sweet, excellent girls, and they deserve access to this type of care too.
Please tell me whenever there is another one. Please,
I absolutely will. Yes,
please tell me when there is another one, because I want to do that. I started a mentoring program strictly for that purpose, because I need to give back in that area. So the next time you are doing anything with them, I don't care what it is, if it's a speaking and engagement, if it's just chilling out, whatever it is, please let me know, because I want to be there. I want to be there.
I definitely will. So my goal is to provide them with at least, I would like to work with at least one mom pro bono every year. That is my goal. Because like I said, teen moms have such a special place in my heart. Motherless moms also have such a special place in my heart. You know, because I had my last daughter without my mom. That was my only child that did not meet my mom. And that was a challenge. Honey, I was my own doula. Can we just talk about that? I was my own doula.
Absolutely.
I had to get the aromatherapy going. I had to get the music, the wave, the sound waves in the background, all that good stuff. Like literally, my epidural failed, and my child was trying to take me out. I told my husband I was seeing all types of ancestors, honey, and I was traversing the ancestral plane. So I had to be my own doula. And you know, that moment it was just kind of like this is really deep. This is so deep. Like this kind of care is needed. Everybody deserves this kind of care in labor. Everybody deserves to be pampered.
Absolutely. And you should be, because this is one of the most important things that we do as women and as mothers, is giving birth. It's childbirth. And it's so minimized nowadays. Oh, this one had a baby, or oh, that one had a baby. And we don't realize how girl, never mind. I could talk for days. In the meantime, though, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of our interview, and I feel like that just went way too fast. So my hope is to definitely have you back on the show in the near future, because this was amazing and this was educational, and this is something that we need to talk about as a community. It's important. We pride ourselves here on this show with having the tough conversations, having the conversations that we need to have to continue to advance us as people here, and being transparent about it. And this is definitely a part of it, just as everything else is. So thank you so much for coming on today. It just so happened to be Black Maternal Health Week, so this will be shared in all of those groups, and hopefully someone gets something and learns something just from the dialogue that we had today. And again, how can people find you?
www.iamchoosingjoy.net _ I am choosing joy _ on Instagram, choosing joy on Facebook, and a plethora of profiles: National Black Doula Association directory, Black Birth Workers Rock directory, and doulamatch.com. Thank you so much for having me.
Shanita, I am so proud of you. I could scream it from the rooftop right now. I thank you for sharing your story with us today. It was amazing, and it was a gem and a jewel, and I know someone is going to learn from this, get something from this, be encouraged, and be empowered by it. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We're going to talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay. Woo! Woo! Talk about powerful, everybody. Talk about powerful. We consistently speak about being transparent here on this show. We consistently talk about the African American community and how important it is that we have these tough conversations to make sure we are advancing as a people. And this is a part of it. This is from birth. This is literally from birth and how important it is. We no longer have to lay down in a field to have children anymore, people. And we need to make sure that it's an experience that is as pleasurable as it can be, as joyful as it can be, because it's important. As Shanita mentioned, it's important because it can affect if a couple decides to have another child, depending upon the experience that they had with a previous one. So please, make sure you check out her site. Make sure you check out her services if you're planning on having a baby, or if you found out that you're already pregnant, and if so, congratulations. And I feel like it's essential. I feel like it's necessary, and creating a special birthing team to make sure that you have a valuable experience is essential in today's days and time. Again, thank you so much to Shanita for sharing her story. Just as a woman, period, being able to change your mind, change your goals, and still be able to push through as a mother, as a wife, and meet new goals. That is everything. That is everything that this life is about. I thank you all so much for watching today. I love you all for listening. And God willing, I will be here next week, same time, same place, different show. See you all soon.